Let's play. Vaygah.com LP, let's play. Make way for Nemoir, the fiancé. Get lost in this walkthrough, live in the game. Just drop the beats and make way for the brains. Haters go rage, QUIT. Gamers wasted in MMORPG. Don't forget your bucks, hey, don't quit crazy. Taste the fun, let it show you the way. Staying up late, making lots of noise. One up to the first 100 coins. You gamers don't play with the blocks and toys. Transcend to a place that don't exist in space. You need help, please come into the LP. It's Cal Lewis on the mic, now I mean, we smoking that vice. Drinking some nice. Vaygah.com, please come subscribe.
Hello gamers, and welcome to the first official Vaygah.com podcast. Today we will be discussing gaming now and then, but first, let me introduce you to the people we have in this channel. First off, I'm Vaygah, and I am the owner/operator of Vaygah.com. I do Let's Plays, and I'm a casual MMORPG and platformer kind of gal. Let me introduce you to DKS3A.
Hello, I am DKS3A. I like long walks on the beach, I like candlelight dinners, and I like cuddling. In all seriousness, I do a lot of classic games and RPGs. I'm a definite RPG kind of guy. And let me introduce Skating Monk.
Hi everyone, I'm Skating Monk and I'm awake this time. I, like DK, enjoy long walks on the beach. I'm a Sagittarius and I enjoy frisky women. And I play mostly anything that's just creepy, mental, weird, or just downright insane. Let me introduce to you Super Conj.
Hello, my name is Super Conj. I'm Ginger and I introduce that to everyone. I am a YouTube Let's Player and I mainly do RPGs and it's my favourite type of game. And my favourite series is Final Fantasy. Let me introduce you to Namor.
Hello everyone, I'm Namor, the fiance, if you haven't heard that song. I always like to watch YouTube videos. I don't necessarily judge them, but I like to help people improve them. I like to play FPS games a lot. Counter-Strike Go just came out. I like that one. And that's about it.
Alright, so that is our group of people who are here to entertain you guys today. I'm going to start off with a question. Do you prefer classic games as opposed to new games, and why? For me, I prefer classic games for many reasons. One, the difficulty. I feel that games nowadays are too easy. There's too many hearts and lives and such as that, whereas in the old games, you got hit once, you were dead. Also, I like to play the older games for nostalgia. What about you guys?
It depends, really. I mean, I like some of the modern day releases, so I've been alright, but it's hard to keep on par with all the good stuff that's been released before, because your introduction's never going to be as good as, like, the same thing you return to every so often. But I have played games recently that I've enjoyed more than the really old classic games that sort of blew me away as a kid. But beyond that, it's a difficult topic to discuss, because I differentiate between both. How about anybody else?
Well, when it comes to the old games and the new games, I mean, people have been creating games that kind of replicate the style of the classic games, you know. There's one game on Steam that, I forget what it's called. I'm probably going to go pull it open right now and see what it's called, but it was very pixelated, you know, kind of a game, and it just brought back a lot of like old features where if you got hit once, you know, or the classic kind of battles, it was just it brought me back to the past, and it was just as difficult, if not confusing, than the old ones, you know. But new games these days, they're just pretty. They look. Bless you.
I ruined the live stream. I'm in the podcast. Oh no.
It'll be all right.
I couldn't help it. I had to sneeze.
But some of these new games, they're easy. They're easy. I mean, there's really no challenge to them. It's just it instills determination of anything, you know, to play it. A lot of the games just captivate people with the stories and the pretty graphics.
I do remember you playing that game, Namor, and I can't remember what it was called. You'll have to look it up for our listeners. It was actually a really cool game. Like, not my kind of style, but think like, you know how like Minecraft is like all popular now?
I got it.
And it's supposed to be like, you know, the graphics are obviously horrible if you ask me, but you create stuff out of pixels. Well, this entire game was done in pixels, and it was actually done really cool.
Okay, I found it. It's called Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery EP on Steam.
I'm
Okay.
getting paid to advertise.
Yeah, right? Are you gonna say DK?
I prefer the classic games myself. Like most of y'all, I enjoy the difficulty of the games, and I like it back that we can just pick up a controller and play, and don't have to worry about like figuring out how. I mean, sometimes you just got to figure out how to play the game and all kind of stuff. That was the fun of it, but also I enjoy it where like graphics really didn't matter. It was all about compelling gameplay, and it was the fun factor, and some of them told a compelling storyline. Games nowadays is all about graphics, and like some of the games are really good nowadays, but like I said, a lot of them, like Namor and you said, were like really easy, and it's just like a lot of the fun factor's been drained out of it because everybody's been focusing on graphics recently.
Well, and you're absolutely right. If you notice any game that you get nowadays, there's like an hour-long tutorial, especially with MMOs. It's like constantly you're clicking, alright, I get it, disable tips, disable tips, disable tips.
I would have to say that it really isn't a problem for me for challenge, because admittedly I play all my games on easy if there is a chance to, but I do prefer classic games. I just think they're better done. I think in the terms of RPGs, most of them have better stories. Anything like before PS3 and Xbox 360, I just think they have better stories and everything. They just have better gameplay. I don't... They're still really good newer games. I just think there are better games on the PS2 than on the PS3. More so.
I felt like that too. PS2 was actually one of my favorite consoles. Hence, well, more so for Guitar Hero, but, you know, I just enjoy that game.
I'll agree with you on that one. I have played a lot of really, like, some of my favourite games have been on the PlayStation 2, like, but they're more, it tends to be the more JRPGs that are the good sort of games that you get on PlayStation. Like, I quite enjoy the Persona series, but as for graphics, I mean, it is good looking at something that doesn't look like it's fallen out of Pac-Man's arse every once in a while. Like, it's nice to visually stimulate yourself. But I think some of the games, though, because of racing sort of game marketing and stuff like that, they've released a lot of crappy games, like abysmal games, like games that I don't even know, games that I would feel bad about like throwing at somebody if I was angry at them. But they do for the bad ones. There's always shining examples. Like, I mean, one of the best horror games I've played this year was Penumbra, and that's graphically stimulating, but it still manages to maintain all the other things I like. It difficult puzzles, horror atmosphere, and stuff like that. Despite the fact that it's like a fairly new title. Well, it's not really fairly new. Amnesia's more newer than that. But moving on.
More newer. Some great English you got going on there.
And you.
How much crown did I put in this again?
2 shots worth.
Oh, that's right.
I agree. I agree with the PS2 being one of the best consoles. I a lot of times pull out my PlayStation 2 just to play, like a lot of the RPGs, like Tales of Legendia, Final Fantasy X, Kingdom Hearts series, all kind of stuff. But I have to say, one of my favorite systems would have to be the Dreamcast. Two of my favorite RPGs of all time are on the Dreamcast. That's Skies of Arcadia and Grandia 2. And I enjoy the Dreamcast so much. I actually found my Dreamcast the other day and I started playing on it again. It's bringing back a whole lot of good memories for me.
You know, I'm still like in this little teeter-totter stuck in the middle of it all because, you know, I enjoy the past games, but, you know, like Skate and Monk said, it's just visually, you know, stimulating, you know, to play a lot of these newer games these days. A lot of it has to do with just, you know, being mindless and a total zombie and diving into the gameplay of the world, you know. It's like mindless self-indulgence. And that appeals to many and the majority of the gamers today. You know, they just want to kill senselessly, you know, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Black Ops, all of them. They just appeal to that. It's more of a culture now, to just dive into it and just be a complete zombie almost.
Namor said duty.
That being said, though, being a giant armored bird, I only play obscure games that you've never heard of.
I'm not saying graphics are a bad thing, because I like a lot of the some of the games that are out right now have like beautiful graphics, and I still think the gameplay's fun and all that kind of stuff. Like the new LP I'm going to be doing later, Lollipop Chainsaw, is probably one of the best looking games I've seen in a long time. It's very colorful and very visualized, but the gameplay and the story is still really fun. So, I mean, if they can have good graphics as long as the game and everything's fun to play and it has a compelling storyline and everything. I don't have any problems with the graphics per se.
Well, and you see, I feel there needs to be a good balance between both of them. I mean, if you go back to like games when they first came out, and like Atari and stuff like that, and even if you forward a little bit into the 90s, like with Super Nintendo, for that time, those graphics were really awesome, but nowadays, like I like what Nintendo's doing, and this is because probably I'm a Nintendo fan, so I'm a little biased, but, like Namor and I just got done doing, new Super Mario Brothers Wii, and I thought the graphics, obviously when you compare them to the old school graphics, they did a really decent job, and then we were checking out the new Super Mario Brothers U trailer that just came out, and, again, the graphics seem to be improving. And, I like for the game to look good, don't get me wrong, but some people and some companies, they put out these games that look so beautiful and so awesome to the point where you have to, drop a grand on your computer just so you'll be able to play it, and then the actual gameplay just, it's not even there. It sucks. The controls are messed up, the camera angles are weird, it's glitchy.
Now, an example of like a perfect game with the perfect balance of gameplay, graphics, gameplay, fun factor, and everything is The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword. That is one of the most perfect games I've seen like in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Goddamn Zelda. In his green tunic, looking so smug.
I don't know how long ago it was, but I bought that game for the Wii because I do enjoy playing the Zelda games, and I've played every single one of them, but I'm not like dedicated to Zelda or like some super huge fan that some people are, but it's just been sitting there, and I've been wanting to play it, but it just sits there. I have yet to play it.
Just can't find the time.
The one thing that's always thrown me off about Nintendo is the immense tedious repetition. It's just like, buy this new Mario game. It's like, oh, okay, I'll buy this new Mario game.
I'll agree.
What happens in it? The princess gets kidnapped again. And they're like, oh, what happens in Zelda? Oh, the princess. Get this. Be on the edge of your seat here, skated monk. Here I am, gripping on all fours, like, what happens? What happens? And then the princess gets kidnapped.
Who knew?
My mind blown. Take all of my money. Just take it. Just let me throw it at you.
I did buy the game on a discount, I believe. So, I didn't pay full price.
It's not so bad.
I'll tell you this right now. You're absolutely right, though. I mean, it's kind of like, what's that saying? If it's not broken, don't fix it. And I think that's kind of, what Nintendo goes for. And a lot of, the sequels and stuff like that. I think it's good that they keep remaking these games, but I think that they need to start making some new characters, you know what I mean? Come up with some new stories. I mean, you have the world at your whim. So many ideas, there's so many people out there with ideas.
Well, that's the thing. They've come out with new stories. The problem is it's the same story told in a different time.
Well, and the thing with Nintendo that I've noticed as well is they're not a fan of blood, guts, and gore. Not that I am by any means, but, they like to stick to straight up, happy-go-lucky kind of stories, and it's always rescuing the princess. Like Skate Monk said, he's absolutely right. But there's got to be some more stuff out there. I mean, heck, just in this group of us alone, we could probably come up with, some idea. But we're not going to state it unless Nintendo is willing to purchase this idea from us. Okay, so don't give away any hints for ideas. Just saying, guys.
Oh man, I have a really good idea too.
All right, well then say it.
Unlike,
That last
you know, this whole time, you know, Link could be the king, you know, marry the princess, and, like, be the story about the king. I don't know.
Well, I'm talking like brand new characters, brand new stories. I mean, they can obviously
Hey.
put out the graphics.
Hey, and get this. The queen will get kidnapped.
Oh my god.
Shit.
Oh my
Blow
god.
mind.
Did it blow
Take-
your mind?
Take my money. Take everything in my house. Just give me that idea.
The queen
Well, the reason
getting
why-
You can take my mind on the floor.
Well, the reason why everything on Nintendo's happy-go-lucky is just because of the person, Shigeru Miyamoto. He's a happy-go-lucky guy to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he needs to go through the wonderful transformation of growing the fuck up.
Anyways, so, you know, we now have that question pretty much well covered. I'd like to ask you guys now, you know, when did gaming change for you? Because it's been going on for a while now. For me personally, you know, when I must have been 8 years old. That's as far back as I can remember as a kid. And I remember getting my first Super Nintendo, me and my sister. And I was so excited. I mean, just little kids screaming, hey, oh my god, you know. And my first games, the cartridges that came with it were Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country. And I remember playing Donkey Kong Country the most, although Super Mario World was one of my favorites as well. And as time went on, you know, they came out with more consoles, more companies came to light and stuff like that, but we always primarily stayed a Nintendo group. And because, let me share some background with the listeners here, as kids, my sister did something to my Super Nintendo, and basically, I don't know what's wrong with kids, but she chewed the cords for some reason, like literally ate them, and as an adult now, I can't really realize how that was even possible, but I remember being scarred as a child. So my parents decided, all right, well, let's get him a Nintendo 64, you know, the one child's whatever, you know, so here, you know, take this, be happy. And one of the first games on it was the Super Mario 64. And I remember that was the time when gaming changed for me because, one, the graphics were totally different, but personally, that changed in a bad way for me. As a child, I couldn't handle it. It made me sick. Every time I went to play the game, I was getting motion sickness and, you know, throwing up and stuff like that. And ever since then, I haven't been able to play games that have that kind of camera angle or that kind of movement.
That sucks. I think gaming changed for me when young, innocent, naive little skater monk was hiding in a cupboard watching Pyramid Head rape a monster. And then I recovered from that. I managed to get past that. And then I played Fear 2. And then Alma raped me. So I'd become a victim of the same thing that I'd been watching. And that's why I love horror games. For that wonderful moment of my childhood.
I would say that's when gaming changed for me is actually when, you know, PlayStation came to be. You know, at first it was just Nintendo. That's what you had at the time. That's what you could get. And then PlayStation came out, and I was just like drawn to it after all that. You know, Nintendo and Genesis battle, and you know, Sega Genesis, and it was just a constant battle there. And then, well, look, there's a PlayStation. What's this? And once I picked that console up, gaming just like changed for the positive for me. I was just captivated by it.
As I'm young, like I don't see gaming changing that much, apart from extremely lately. Like the transition from last gen to this gen is when I've seen gaming change for the complete worst, in my opinion. But the first console I had was a Dreamcast, and I moved on to PS1. These were like when I was 3 and 5, and got PS2, got an Xbox, and I had a really good relationship with my GameCube because I saw my brother playing Harvest Moon on it, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that looks awesome, I want to play it. But I never actually got to play it. And Super Smash Bros. Melee was awesome on that. But once we kind of got into the PS3 and Xbox 360, which was really lately, like I was 8 when those came out, and like I wasn't that interested in half the games. Like on the PS2 I have at least 40 games, and on the Xbox 360 I have 10. Like I couldn't think of many games that made me happy, that made me want to play it. All I could see were these FPSs that I really didn't like, because, you know me, all I care about is story in a game, and FPSs just don't have story, really. So they turn me off, and all I can see is just a market flooded with FPSs, or just uninventive games with a bad storyline for an RPG or something else. And I just can't get into gaming nowadays, which is the main reason why I haven't played it. Bought my PS3, and why my most played console in this gen is probably my Wii, because, well, mostly because of WiiWare.
Okay.
I like shooting people.
Okay, for me, I was probably about 10 or 11. It's probably about the 5th, 6th grade, something like that. Anyway, me and my best friend of 20 some odd years went to his house, and he actually just picked up a new video game, and it was Final Fantasy III, which is 6 in Japan. And we popped it in, and I was so compelled and so drawn into the story, and I really liked the gameplay. It was the very first RPG I ever saw was Final Fantasy III. Before that, I was mainly into like Mario and Zelda and all that and Kirby and all that stuff. But Final Fantasy III was the very first one I ever got into, and it just compelled me so much that when PlayStation 1 came out, I had to get Final Fantasy VII, and it's just like, and ever since then, I've been really drawn into the RPGs, and that's the reason why I do a lot of RPG LPs, because I'm still drawn into them to this day.
To be fair, like, most of the games I did play as a kid, I had a Sega, and I used to just bomb through Sonic games like there was no tomorrow. I used to love Sonic the Hedgehog, like, watch all the cartoons and everything else. I didn't really get into Nintendo to the 64, in which the first game I ever played on that was Ocarina of Time, and I quite enjoyed that and Majora's Mask. But I think the first horror game I ever played that got me into horror games was Silent Hill. And because it's an interesting response. I think I can get immersed by any story as long as it's told well. But I think for a game to actually make me feel like scared, like to a point where I'm like, I don't want to go into that next room, I'm actually terrified. Even though I'm rationalising in my head like it's a game, there's nothing really, like, nothing's actually going to hurt me or something like that. There's still something about horror games that keep you terrified, and I think that's what captivates me, because I can get more immersed in a horror story because of the fact that it's engaging an emotional response by myself, like the fact that I'm scared. So I got quite into the Silent Hill series, and I think that's when gaming changed for me, because I realised that games could stir up an emotional response. Well, that emotional response being fear, but I think that's when gaming definitely changed for me.
Well, let me ask you guys this, on the topic of older games, do you think these classics, that we grew up with are going to be forgotten? I mean, take a look at the Atari. Everybody knows the name, but as, we get older and new generations come into play, a lot of these kids, they might know the name just for history purposes, but they don't really appreciate, how good those games were at their times. Those are like the pioneers. If we didn't have those games, we wouldn't be where we're at now.
There will be a day, though, like, where games like Modern Warfare 3 will be used as toilet paper. To be fair, I'm pretty sure I do that now. But
well, I know for me, if I ever have kids, God willing, I'm going to show them all those games, even if I can't find, a classic console, if I have to, bring up YouTube or whatever it's going to be called, 20 years from now and show them, or, even an emulator, whatever I can do, or the WiiWare, they offer that option as well. I want my kids to grow up and know that stuff that I knew, so that they have a deep appreciation for, how far along gaming has come nowadays.
Mommy, I don't want to play Zelda. You'll play Zelda and you'll fucking love it. You can play Zelda, you're not getting fed tonight. I will have culturally acceptable children, god damn it. And I'll be there, like, strapping my kids to, like, chairs, making them play, like, Amnesia. And traumatizing them.
I don't think that it would be truly forgotten, because people in our generation, like mine, the more yours, and the Vaygah, will let them forget it.
Exactly.
I will be honest. As you know, I'm quite young. I'm gonna say,
Really?
in my in my primary school, it should be elementary school for you guys. Nobody knew before N64. Nobody. In fact, I didn't until I saw AVGN. Absolutely nobody had heard of anything before N64, and most people didn't even know what an N64 was. Like, I tried telling them, you know what Dreamcast is? And they're like, no. But hey, Call of Duty, fuck you!
Blasphemy.
Like, dude, I know, like, every single one of them did not know shit. And even now, I can barely see anyone knowing about the Atari or the SNES or the NES. Anyone that's not wired to the internet daily wouldn't know that, really. I can't imagine them knowing that. It's just them now. And that's true, because I know it. I got the inside scoop.
Oh, guys, it would seem that we now have a mission as a group of gamers. Vaygah.com, we're coming to your house, and we're jamming Nintendos and Ataris down your throat. Be prepared and leave the doors unlocked.
They sell them for Amazon.
Wow.
They sell them on Amazon for like $25, $30.
Hey, man, that's like a week's worth of Starbucks.
I'm not going to put my weeks worth of Starbucks for that. My caramel macchiatos do not fund themselves, Vaygah.
Well, where do you guys think gaming will go into the future? You know, where do you see it at, 20 years from now? I mean, I'm like picturing virtual reality, IMAX kind of crazy stuff.
I'm liking the idea of like the gamer movie, and in the gamer movie where they can take control of real people, because that'd be fucking awesome. Like,
Oh,
obviously.
yeah, that movie. I would... Oh, man. Yeah, I would really, enjoy that. I mean, that'd be the same concept as, like, The Matrix or something, but, that would be fairly awesome to just, like, put yourself into the game like that.
It's coming.
That'd be pretty.
I would
I think.
I would see the same thing, like virtual reality, all kind of stuff, and also like, say you're playing like a fighting game. I mean, it wouldn't hurt and all kind of stuff, but like if you get punched and hit, you actually kind of can feel the punches and kicks and all that stuff.
To be fair, that sort of stuff already exists. There was a show on in the UK called The Gadget Show, and basically they'd made a Battlefield 3 thing similar to that, where they had a 360-degree treadmill. They had paintball guns wired up to like indicators in the game, so if you got shot in the game, you got shot by a paintball. But they even have like flak jackets and stuff if you get shot in game and stuff, and you can buy stuff for your computer. It'll like give you a quick inflation of air like to the chest and like wherever you get shot, which I thought was a pretty interesting concept. But I really don't want to be dancing around like a moron in my computer chair because I'm getting shot at.
I
That
guess
is
that
kinda cool
solves the
concept.
workout situation. With the how the Wii came out and the whole idea with the Kinect, and it's all like, oh, let's get gamers off their asses, and let's help out with the health industry. That would definitely make me want to run around, smoker or not. I mean, somebody's shooting at me, and this thing's actually going to simulate it. Not me.
It would surely make you a better. It would surely make you a better gamer too, because you don't want to get shot at, so you're gonna try to like dodge everything.
No, let me tell you, that stuff does exist for one simple reason. It makes soldiers better.
Good point.
Simulation's a very interesting concept. I to be honest, like most of the shooters I play, I get quite into the realistic shooters. Like I can quite happily play Arma 2 and like and Operation Flashpoint, and they're developed by the same people. But I enjoy like intense realism in games because I like games to be not just a challenge of skill. I prefer them to be a mental challenge as well, which is good for horrors. I mean, because horrors mostly throw puzzles at you, so I enjoy that little like mental exercise that I get from that.
I know Skate and Monk would really be able to be sucked into like an actual horror game, and you like play like your person, like him would be actually the person controlling in the game. Like you play as yourself inside a horror game.
Oh, could you imagine the warnings on that game?
What, the warnings on my playthrough or the warnings on the game in general?
Both, but the game in general mainly. I mean, there's enough warnings on all video games as it is. I mean, hence your little link you showed me, Skatin' Monk, that scared me half to death, and the warning that was on that. I really should have paid more attention to it because I felt like I was going to have a heart attack after I saw it. But, if they have games like that and they progress that far, they're going to have a hell of a lot of warnings on that kind of stuff.
I'd love it though. Like, I'd be terrified, but I'd love it at the same time. Like, I like games that are intrusive as well. Like, another good horror that I've played was Shattered Memories for the Wii. I actually played a Wii, everyone. I mean, but that's a Silent Hill game, and that game psychologically profiles you as you play it. And basically, all the monsters in the game were fractions of my own inner psyche. Like, the monsters were made up of like cogs and stuff like that, because at the end of the game it told me that they were structured like that because I found solace in logic and reasoning and stuff like that. And it like creates a couple and a girl, and the girl basically, from the answers that you give in the psych evaluation at the start, they structure her to be like your perfect woman, which was strange because all she was doing was insulting me and calling me a jackass. Which I did like. I love me some Dom. But moving swiftly on from there. But I like games like that because there were moments where I was looking at the characters and I was thinking, fucking hell, I've been in similar situations like this. This is quite, it's quite nerve-wracking. I feel like the game's got me by the nuts and it's like gently squeezing and I'm just like, no!
Okay! So, Moving on, I wanted to bring up something that one of the Vaygah.com members had written a couple months ago. She made a comment. Her name was Oxapa, and she had made a statement about how crazy it would be if she went back to when she was a kid with her Xbox 360, how she would be burned as a witch. Do you think that, if we had the technology we have now with gaming, back in the day when it first came out, how do you think it would be received if you were to take, like, your PS3 or even your computer game, back in time and show it off to your friends? How do you think it would be received?
I'd be more worried about getting arrested for hanging out with the child version of myself. Like, I was like, hey, little skater monk, see this cool console, yeah? Yeah? Follow me, well, I'll show you this really cool console. I'll get arrested.
I think more so that just kids will worship me. I just think I'll hook it up in my old house and just be like, hey, they just put a sign outside the door going, all kids allowed to play on my Xbox widgetry 9364 Atari 9000 billion. And then they just come in, they just knock on the door, I open up, I got my dressing gown on, and they're like, do you want to play some games? And they're like, yeah! And then they go into the room, and they see Call of Duty, and then they start killing people, and then World War III happens.
Oh,
I'm not quite sure where you were going.
Yeah, I'm not
like
sure either.
luring children into your house when you've got a dressing gown on, like, come on in, children, we have fun games to play.
The best part was, and then World War III would happen.
Yeah, Super, I'm not so sure where you were going with that one. I mean, I knew you had good intentions, but it's a different topic.
I'm gonna be honest, Supercons, right? I'm not worried about I'm not worried about the Third World War. It's the Third World's problem.
And the crazy thing? The crazy thing is Super's the youngest out of all of us, and he ended up sounding the most,
Rapey.
Was.
What are they teaching you kids in school? What are they
and then World War III happened with my dick. But it doesn't matter.
Oh, God. I'm going to take advice from Supercons here and not answer the door to children in a dressing gown and a banana hammock. It's only going to get you in trouble.
I think bringing back like the 360 and PS3 back to like the 1980s, I'm not sure how people would react to that. They would probably think I'm some kind of spy for another country that's like well more advanced than us or something. I don't know.
No doubt that could actually be very dangerous now that I think about it. But let me tell you, what I would do if I were to bring, PS3 or the Wii or Xbox, any of those systems back to time? What I would do is I would show them what not to do. I would say, look at this game, blah, 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 graphics are awesome, but look at how the gameplay has changed compared to such and such. I bet you half those people would not be able to play those games and would be so frustrated with them.
Without it.
I'd just sneak in to Bill Gates' office and slide the Xbox 360 onto the table and be like, and then sneak right back out and then let him decipher it and then I would go back to the future and gaming would be like 20 years more advanced. And I'd be like, yeah! Running around my virtual reality room.
And you would make sure to invest in Microsoft.
Definitely. I'd make sure I'd jump
no
forward
doubt.
5 years in time and like, go, alright, invest. Okay, now we go.
Oh, time travel itself needs hours and hours worth of time. But, I want to ask you guys, is there anything else that you'd like to say about, gaming now and then?
Gaming's good. It's on a rapid decline. We're always going to have terrible examples of games, but then we're going to have shining graces that come down from the heavens and just amaze us and let us bask in their awe. And games that just are entertaining.
Now, gaming is getting extremely uninventive, but they're still fun for now. 20 years time, I'm not too sure though. Then they were just masterpieces, really, most of them. There were still really bad games though, but most of them were just movie tie-ins.
It's the same though with any old thing though, isn't it? I mean, most people would look at like the old movies and stuff like that and go, they were better movies, they were better structured. But to be honest, like, back in 20 years from now, we'll be looking back at games that we're playing now and going, oh man, that game was so good. Man, these games at the moment are shit with their virtual reality and their goddamn laser beams and all sorts of other stuff. I only have one thing to say. Frictional games, keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep meeting you in the car park.
I think that we're heading in the right direction. They haven't announced anything for Sony and Microsoft yet, but the Wii U, I think, might be a step in the right direction with the control. Like, somebody wants to watch TV, can still play the game right there on your controller and all that kind of stuff. I think that it's going to start heading in the right direction, and Microsoft and Sony is going to have to come out with something pretty good to counter what the innovativeness that the Wii U is going to have.
I think most people will be too busy playing grown-up games.
Skating!
Kidding.
How dare you!
Vaygah smash!
Skating, Monk.
Yeah.
Why you
This car!
It's automatic.
It's systematic.
It's hydromatic.
Why, it's grease lightning!
Why, it's grease lightning! You could
Right.
Dun, 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 dun. Keep talking, whoa, keep talking. You can't see it, but I'm actually performing the dance as we speak. Grease lightning, go, grease.
This is a moment where I approve Facecam.
For grease lightning.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, we're going to end this podcast here, and we hope that you've learned something or mainly gotten a message
About my
out of this.
dressing gown.
Yes, I'm not sure what
Stay away
message
from
you could have.
men in dressing gown.
I'm not sure what message you could have taken from this podcast. Whether it's avoid creepy men in dressing gowns, or make sure to continue. Your kids, and even if they're not your kids, your nieces, your nephews, little kids, whatever. Be sure to pass that kind of stuff on. It's important for history to continue and for people to know. But other than that, and aside from Grease Lightning, we're going to end the podcast, and we want to thank you for listening and ask you to visit Vaygah.com and perhaps become a member, meet other gamers, and spend time with Skate Monk.
Hell yeah. Also,
Yeah.
in response to Vaygah, if you can't find a close relative of a younger age, just steal a child off the street. It's okay. Tie them up in your basement and make them play Atari until either they starve to death or you're arrested.
You must be wearing a dressing gown while doing it.
Definitely.
Oh,
This
super
dressing gown is a
conch.
must.
Well, my few moments were actually not wearing a dressing gown today.
So with that, guys, we leave you, and thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Later.
Catch you cats on the flip side.
Subscribe later.